Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on today's program, a Week 4 preview. Jags coming down to NRG, a battle of the AFC South. I'll give you a full preview, some keys to victory, and some injuries to watch during this week. But you didn't notice I wasn't able to do a watch party this past weekend for Texans Vikings. Maybe that's the reason why the Texans lost so bad. Maybe I'm the good luck charm. Maybe Texans Today needs to go live. And you know what? I was talking with my boss this weekend. He was kind of non-committal for a watch party this weekend. So I need your help. I want to just absolutely pester my boss. I want to make sure that he has to hear Texans fans, that he has to hear that all of the Texans Today viewers want a watch party this weekend. So I need your help to do one thing. If you do anything today, if you do anything from this video, if you listen to anything that I say today, this is the one thing. I need you to help me pester my boss. Click the share icon, select the X icon, click post to X, and tag my boss at James Yoder. Hey, if you don't even need to just share this video. Go follow my boss James Yoder on Twitter. Comment at his tweets. DM him. Do anything you can to say, hey, we need a Texans watch party this weekend. I want our voices to be heard. I want my boss to say, hey, I don't know why so many Texans fans are reaching out to me, but I guess we got to do a watch party this weekend. I want your voices so loud that he can't not have a Texans watch party this weekend. So help me help you. I want to do a Texans watch party so bad, and I need your help to convince my boss, Mr. James Yoder, to let me have one. James, sorry, but I had to get Texans fans involved. I had to do it because we need a watch party for Week 4. First up, for our preview, let's look at injuries to watch during this week, and let's start out with the Houston Texans. Now, one injury that a little disheartening coming from that Texans-Vikings game in Week 3, Tank Dell. He had a wrist-hand injury that he suffered during that game. That's one that we're going to have to watch during this week to see if he'll be good to go up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Remember, that first meeting last year, Tank Dell absolutely torched the Jags. Hopefully, he'll be good to go in Week 4. Another injury to watch, somebody who didn't play up against the Vikings, Joe Mixon. Will he be good to go dealing with that ankle injury? And this is a big one for this Texans team because I think Joe Mixon, the loss of Mixon and Pierce, kind of affected how Bobby Slowick, how this offense was running in Week 4. Let me know your thoughts down below. Does this Texans offense need Joe Mixon to function right now? Because certainly seems that way. I want to hear your thoughts, though, before I give you mine. Go down in the comment section. Let me know, does this Texans offense need Joe Mixon to function? You get hit with the YouTube ad break. Perfect timing. Just scroll on down and give me your answer. Yes, right now, Mixon has been the brightest spot of this Texans offense in the 2024 NFL season. He has been kind of the straw that stirs the drink for this Texans offense. Ever since he's been injured, they haven't really seemed the same. I mean, even in that Bears game, after he got injured, the offense didn't seem to be running as smoothly as it was prior to Joe Mixon getting injured. So I think he adds an element to this offense that is really irreplaceable at the moment for this Texans team. He's really able to find those holes, really able to get those extra yards. I think Joe Mixon, having him back up against the Jaguars would be huge for this Texans team moving forward. Let's go across enemy lines now, though. Let's look at the Jacksonville Jaguars at their starting linebacker, Olakun. He was injured up against the Buffalo Bills. He's one of the better players on that defensive front seven. So having him out up against the Texans would be huge for this Texans offense. That's an injury that you should be keeping a close eye on for the Jacksonville Jaguars this weekend. Another one for the Jaguars, Jarrian Jones, rookie out of Florida State. He was injured up against the Buffalo Bills. Will he be able to go up against the Texans during this week? That secondary has been ravaged. They're already missing Campbell, who they signed to a big contract this offseason. He is on short-term IR, so they'll be without him. If they're without Jones, that's two guys in the secondary already. Some guys who didn't play up against Buffalo, Evan Ingram, the tight end, another guy who you'll have to keep an eye out for if he'll be good to go in Week 4. Obviously did not play up against Buffalo, one of their better receiving threats. So if he's not good to go, that's one less weapon for Trevor Lawrence. And then Darnell Savage. We talked about the secondary for this Jaguars team. If Savage isn't out there, that's just another guy you're missing. So a couple guys on the injury report that will be very key for this team moving forward. Next up, let's look at the keys to victory for the Houston Texans up against Jacksonville, because this is a big game for both squads. And starting out with the Houston Texans. Something that I'm really going to be looking forward to is, will the Houston Texans be able to really, just put the nail in the coffin for the Jacksonville Jaguars? I think if they're able to do that, I think it'll be a huge get for this Texans team. And, one of my first keys to victory for this Texans team is, I really, truly do believe you got to start fast. You got to just pedal to the metal. We saw it up against the Buffalo Bills. The Jags, they were stifled early. They really did not have anything that they could respond with after the Buffalo Bills just absolutely opened up the floodgates. And listen, the Texans and Jags both got embarrassed in week 3. They both did. Let's be honest. The Texans were manhandled, and the Jags, look at this score, 47-10. It was a bludgeoning up in Buffalo. The Jags are coming out for blood in week 4. You can't let them have any semblance of hope. You can't let them have any moment of this game where they're like, you know what? I think we've got this game, because right now they're backed into a corner. They're 0-3. You can't let them have any hope that they can turn this season around, because, since 2001, 0-3 teams to make the playoffs. Here's the full list. 2018 Houston Texans, stop. That's it. The Texans are the only team in the, modern era since 2001 to have made the playoffs after starting 0-3. And certainly, if you go 0-4, I think the season is done for. There's no chance for the Jaguars to rebound from that to make the playoffs this season if they do go 0-4. For the Jaguars, it is a true win or go home week. And it's crazy saying that we're only in week 4 of the NFL season. But for the Jaguars, that's their reality. If they don't win this week, their season's done. Doug Pederson, he might be done. Trevor Lawrence, he just signed a massive contract. I don't know what the Jags do with him. But this season's to ruin if they lose to the Texans in week 4. And the Texans got to realize that, and they got to come out for blood and say, hey, we're not going to let them have any hope this week, because we want to end their season. The next key to victory for the Houston Texans, you got to stop the run with Travis Etienne. He has been one of the lone bright spots for this Jags offense. The third or fourth year man out of Clemson. He's had 36 carries on the year, 164 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 4.6 yards per carry. The Texans, remember, last week up against the Vikings, were not very good. They allowed 118 rush yards up against Minnesota. So they cannot do the same up against the Jags. They can't let Etienne go in, because if he gets going, that'll take the pressure off of Trevor Lawrence, and this Jags offense might get some steam going up against this Texans defense. Next up is going to be my biggest key to victory, but before I give you mine, I want to hear you. What is your biggest key for the Texans up against the Jaguars in week 4? I want to hear it down in the comment section. Your biggest key to victory for week 4. Coming up, it's going to be my biggest key for the Houston Texans, but before we get into that, our show is brought to you by our good friends over at Fanatics. And hey, if you need a new Texans jersey, there's one place and one place only to do it, and that's with our friends over at Fanatics. They have all the new jerseys that you need. You can get decked out in a brand new CJ Stroud jersey, maybe a Will Anderson jersey. Jalen Petre's been looking real good this year. Same with Derek Stingley Jr., Tank Dell as well. So if you want any of these jerseys, go check out all the options with our friends over at Fanatics. Use the link below, chatsports.com/Texans jerseys. That's how they know that we sent you. So that link is going to be in the comment section and description of today's video. Go check them out today. Get Texans jerseys. They also, if you go to the website using our link, chatsports.com/Texans jerseys, they have t-shirts, they have hoodies, they have hats, they have everything you need over there at Fanatics. Go check them out today. Thank you to our friends over there. My next key to victory for the Texans, no penalties. No penalties for this Texans team, specifically on offense. You cannot keep on shooting yourself in the foot. This nugget from Aaron Wilson on X. The Texans have 28 accepted penalties for 233 yards, ranking 3rd in the NFL, only behind the Ravens with 31 penalties for 278, and the Browns with, I think he meant to say 29 penalties for 212 yards. Aaron Wilson with the little gap right there. 29 penalties. 291 would be wild, though, for the Browns. But regardless, that's what ruined the Texans game up against the Vikings. They had 11 penalties. They Had 3 false starts back to back to back. They could not get in front of the 8 ball. It was always 1 step forward, 2 steps back for this Texans team. And if you do that up against the Jags, they will make you pay for it. They will, like I said, this is the Jags Super Bowl. So if you're going to mess up, if you're going to, let the Jags stay in it by shooting your own self in the foot, then the Jags are going to capitalize. You cannot do that. You can't give them any hope this week. So that starts with playing sound football and making sure that you are not committing penalties. Next up, you got to get after Lawrence. You got to get after Trevor Lawrence. He's had a horrendous year so far. I mean, this guy, it's just, you just paid him a record contract for quarterbacks, and he's coming out and he's looked awful so far. So if you can really get after him, the Jags let a ton of sacks go up against the Bills in week 3. And the Texans, they're one of the sack leaders in the NFL right now. They're currently, 4th in sacks in the NFL with 13. So the Texans can get after Lawrence. If they can make his life a living hell on Sunday, that'll spell good things for this Texans team. And I want to see the Texans get back to rushing with 4 pass rushers. I want to see them get after Lawrence with their front 4 and see if they can really cause some havoc there. Because if they're able to do that and on the back end they can just sit back and guard these, wide receivers that the Jags have, they should be golden up against Jacksonville. And my last key to victory, you got to let CJ cook. Let Stroud absolutely feast on this Jags defense. Their secondary, as I mentioned, already depleted. It's going to be a bounce-back game for CJ. Coming off a down week, and he's facing that depleted secondary. I want to see CJ absolutely dot up the Jaguars. He looked really good last year in his 2 meetings up against Jacksonville. Can he do it again in week 4? I believe in CJ Stroud. I loved what he said after the Vikings game, after that defeat, and how his mentality is going into this week. Hey, we got our butts whooped. Let's get in the film room this week. Let's fix those problems, and let's go out in week 4 and prove why the Texans should be one of the top teams in the AFC. Hopefully, we'll be able to see CJ absolutely light up the scoreboard in week 4 because I know Texans fans are super pumped about it. The second home game at NRG, I can't wait to see what CJ and company can do. Make sure you subscribe for daily Texans content all year long, and hopefully a watch party this Sunday. Now, like I said at the beginning of the show, I need you to go down. I need you to share today's video and tag my boss at James Yoder if you want a watch party this week. Make sure you're subscribed and make sure you do these steps right here because I want a watch party so freaking bad. But my bosses seem to be kind of wishy-washy about it. So the only way that we can do that, we got to let our voices be heard. We got to tell my boss, Mr. James Yoder, hey, Texans fans they deserve a watch party in week 4. Let's get loud, let's get proud, and show my boss that Texans fans are here to stay here at Chat Sports. Make sure to hit him up, and if you want to hit me up on X, you can do so at Jeremy Chuggs. That's all I got for you on today's show, folks. As always, let's go Texans.